Interesting. And speaking about that, because I wanted to come to that later, but since you're here in terms of the space where what Craydel is actually getting to do, how does, what's it called, the psychometric test, what's it
It's
called?
the assessment.
Is the assessment? Oh, I'm so
When
used
you
to
say
doing
a test, then people think pass and fail. Yeah.
All right, so the assessment, how is it able to determine a career path of an individual? How is it able to show, if I do this particular assessment, how is it able now to exactly just help me know the career path I'm supposed to take? What does it look into?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, there are 4 things that we look into. We look at your personality types. So there are certain personality types that are more suited to certain careers. Like I am guessing that you will probably be a very bad accountant.
Actually, I studied accounting. That's what
come on.
For real, I did Bachelor of Commerce and I did a CCA, but in between my undergrad, I realized me like talking. I can't do this.
Exactly.
I wanted to be like my father, just like you.
Yeah,
and then I realized it's not my thing.
80% students eventually end up in careers which have nothing to do with what they've studied in high school.
True.
Nothing, or even in the universities. So you're not the only one. So I mean, coming back to the point is that there's certain personality types that are suited to certain kind of careers. Like your personality type will suit yourself in journalism, marketing, sales maybe, but you'll probably be really getting bored to death in the world of accounting, right?
Yeah, all of it.
So we look at personality types. And we have like the psychometric assessment is about 180 questions. It's completely online. It's multiple choice. It's very simple and fun to do. We also look at aptitudes because aptitudes play a very important role in figuring out what kind of careers are you best fit for. For certain careers, for example, you need a strong numerical aptitude. There's certain careers where you need a strong spatial. So spatial aptitude is your ability to visualize things in 3 dimensions. So if you don't have a strong spatial aptitude, you'll not do a very good job as an architect, for example. So we look at aptitudes. Then we look at your interest, your value system. And then we look at what kind of careers motivate you, excite you, or you're passionate about. So we look at multiple things and we ask series of questions that help us determine where you are across all of these 4 parameters. And then we use that. Now the system then eventually kind of uses intelligence to kind of say, if these are the kind of answers you're given, this is your personality type, these are the kind of your career motivators, and it uses that now to gives you recommendations on your ideal career paths.
Interesting. And does it also look in terms of gifts? Because primarily I believe when you're looking at it in terms of my personality and all this, but maybe I may be gifted singer, and primarily that can be a pathway I can actually look into it. Does it also look into that?
Typically talents do show up in career motivators. So if you are, let's say, gifted singer, then you will typically answer questions around, do you like performing on stage? Do you have a keen interest in music? So we have questions like this that assess, and typically talents get factored into questions like those.
Interesting. And what exactly informed you setting up Craydel? Is it because you came up from an environment whereby you're always being pumped up to succeed in education, and then you saw what exactly informed Craydel?
Yeah, so I think just kind of going back a few years, I talked about my studies in education. I studied economics because I came from a family of economists. My sister went to the US to do her PhD in economics. I came from like a family of uncles who are all economists. So growing up in your home, your dinner conversations, your dinner table conversations, well, just economics. I also had a class teacher who was also an economics teacher, who I also was really fond of.
So economics was a family thing.
It was a family thing, plus I had a teacher who was very fond of me. I was very fond of her. She, gave me a very good impression, and I thought I wanted to be in economics. Sometimes you think you want to do something, and then you very later on realize that it was not a good choice. So,
True.
So I think like when it comes to higher education, there's a lot of parental bias and there's a lot of societal bias that informs. And economics is a very respected course. And so I did my economics, and then as I told you earlier, then I went to my parents saying, what do I do with my degree? That's go to do a postgraduate. So I think that was also the time when it was the year 2000. So year 2000, if you remember, was also the time that internet boom was happening.
Yes, the .com.
The .com boom was happening across the world. Amazon was becoming bigger. A guy called Sabir Bhatia sold Hotmail, to Microsoft for $400 million. And I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I think even when I was growing up, I had deep passion for entrepreneurship. So every single summer break in school, I would pick up a new business and I would run a business and I would try and make some money. I come from a humble family, really humble family. So I was always excited about, making money, just hustling my way through in life. And then I was like, then I dropped out of my college. I was very clear I want to be an entrepreneur. And And then eventually I found my way into a tech startup ecosystem, and I eventually got success. Success not just in terms of financial success or succeeding as a businessman or as an entrepreneur, but also success from within, because I was feeling really happy.
And
I would look
fulfilled,
forward every day to go to work, and we were transforming the world, and we were excited about it. So fast forward few years, I have a daughter. She's 7 years old. I did not learn coding, but even though I'm in a tech startup field, I don't know how to code. And sometimes they say that fathers like to live their unfulfilled dreams to their kids.
I've heard that so many times, yes.
So I put my daughter into the coding program, and I said, if you need to have a good future, you need to learn coding. Okay, so a 7-year-old, I put her in a very tough coding program.
In India, you start everything so early.
So early.
You gotta learn code.
There's no time to waste.
There's a billion people competing with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So she went through the program. In India, you just have to obey your parents. Whatever they told you, have to do it.
Yeah.
So a few months down the line, I check in with her, and she's like, "Look, I'm doing it because you asked me to do it, Papa. But I don't want to do this." I said, "What do you want to do?" And she opened a drawer from her cupboard, and then she took out some dolls, and she said, "Look, I stitch clothes for these dolls." And she made amazing clothes for these dolls. So she has amazing sense of fashion.
At 7.
She says, "I want to be a fashion designer. That's what I want to do." And that was like this